The courthouse was buzzing with an unusual energy. Journalists lined the corridors, their cameras flashing as the most unexpected of figures entered the building. Elon Musk, the tech mogul, known for his groundbreaking ventures like Tesla, SpaceX, and Neuralink, was here for a legal battle that could alter the course of one of his most ambitious projects. He walked into the courtroom with his usual cool demeanor, his black suit sharp against his tall frame. The crowd was a mix of curiosity and skepticism. What could Musk possibly be doing here? And why was he being sued over a venture so obscure, even by his standards? As he settled into the defendant's chair, the judge, a seasoned legal veteran named Judge Harrison, wasted no time in setting the tone. Judge Harrison had a reputation for mocking tech moguls who thought they could outsmart the system. Today, it seemed, Elon Musk would be no exception. "Mr. Musk, I hope you've brought more than just your usual tech wizardry to this courtroom," Judge Harrison said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "We're dealing with the law here, not some newfangled gadget or rocket. Do you truly believe your business acumen can take on years of legal precedents?" Musk's eyes locked with the judge's. There was a flicker of something. Perhaps it was amusement, or maybe it was the tiniest hint of a challenge. Musk had faced critics his entire career. But this was different. The judge was openly mocking him in front of everyone. The court attendees shifted uncomfortably, sensing the growing tension. Musk, however, didn't flinch. Instead, he leaned forward, his hands folded on the table before him. "I didn't come here to play by your rules, Judge," Musk replied calmly. His voice was steady, almost too calm, as though he had anticipated this moment long before stepping foot in the courtroom. "I came here because this is bigger than me. It's about the future. It's about innovation." The judge smirked, clearly enjoying the back and forth. "Innovation? Mr. Musk, let's see how far your so-called innovation gets you in this courtroom. I suggest you leave your rocket scientist mindset behind and start thinking like a defendant." Musk smiled faintly, a knowing look in his eyes. The mockery didn't seem to faze him. It only seemed to fuel him. There was something in his posture, an unwavering confidence that hinted at a deeper purpose. Whatever the judge had in mind, Musk was not going to back down. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The tension in the room was palpable. Outside the courtroom, reporters were already buzzing. Headlines were being typed out. "Elon Musk takes on the courtroom. Will his genius be enough?" No one, it seemed, expected Musk to win this battle, least of all Judge Harrison. To the judge, Musk was just another high-profile businessman who thought he could bypass the law. But to Musk, this was another challenge to be overcome. One that would show not just the world, but this very judge, what true innovation looked like. As the trial continued, the judge's ridicule turned into a kind of game. He asked questions that seemed designed to trip Musk up, to embarrass him in front of his legal team and the watching public. But each time, Musk handled the questions with an ease that only fueled the judge's annoyance. "So, Mr. Musk," Judge Harrison said, his voice dripping with disdain, "I've heard that you plan to revolutionize everything from transportation to space travel. But when it comes to the law, do you honestly think you're above it?" Musk leaned back in his chair, his eyes narrowing slightly. "No, Judge. I don't think I'm above the law. But I do think that sometimes the law needs to catch up with progress." The courtroom went silent. The judge was taken aback. He wasn't sure whether to be impressed or irritated. This wasn't how he had envisioned the day going. Musk's words had a weight to them, and though he had no doubt that he could intimidate Musk with his legal knowledge, there was something about the way Musk spoke that made him hesitate. For a brief moment, the judge's expression faltered, as if he realized that Musk's mind was operating on a completely different level than his own. The judge quickly regained his composure, but it was clear that Musk had planted a seed of doubt. Whether it was because of Musk's undeniable brilliance or his calm, calculated responses, there was a change in the air. It was no longer just about legal tactics. It was about something deeper, respect. Elon Musk was no longer just a businessman trying to navigate the legal system. He was a force to be reckoned with. As the first day of the trial concluded, the spectators filed out of the courtroom, leaving behind an atmosphere heavy with anticipation. Everyone was eager to see where this battle would go next. Would Musk continue to impress the court with his unorthodox approach? Or would the seasoned judge, with his years of experience, finally bring Musk down to reality? But one thing was clear. Elon Musk wasn't about to let anyone, not even Judge Harrison, tell him what he could and couldn't do. The stage was set for a legal battle that no one would forget. And so, the courtroom drama had only just begun. Elon Musk's story was anything but conventional. Born in Pretoria, South Africa, in 1971, he wasn't raised with the comforts of Silicon Valley or the expectation of becoming a billionaire. His father, Elon Musk, was a successful engineer, but his relationship with young Elon was strained, marked by distance and occasional harshness. Elon's mother, May Musk, a model and dietitian, was the more nurturing influence, but still, the family dynamics were far from ideal. From a young age, Elon was drawn to technology. At the age of 10, he taught himself how to program and created a video game, Blaster, which he sold to a computer magazine for $500. It was a small victory, but one that ignited a fire inside him. Unlike most kids, he was not interested in playing outside or hanging out with friends. Instead, he would bury himself in books, learning everything he could about physics, engineering, and the future of humanity. His obsession with technology became more than just a hobby. It became the path to his destiny. At 17, Elon moved to Canada to attend Queen's University, partly to avoid mandatory military service in South Africa. It was a leap of faith. He had no guarantees, no clear plan, but Musk had a vision. He would later transfer to the University of Pennsylvania, where he earned degrees in both economics and physics. This combination of business savvy and scientific knowledge would become his secret weapon. However, the road to success was far from smooth. Musk's early ventures, like Zip2, an online city guide, and X.com, which eventually became PayPal, were fraught with failure, setbacks, and rejection. In fact, at one point, Musk was ousted from his own company, X.com, by the board. But he didn't quit. Instead, he learned from each failure and adapted. Each setback only strengthened his resolve to keep moving forward. Musk's breakthrough came with the founding of SpaceX, a company aimed at revolutionizing space travel. Despite skepticism from many, Musk poured his own fortune into the venture, betting that he could build rockets cheaper and more efficiently than NASA. At first, the world doubted him. But with each successful launch, Musk proved the naysayers wrong. With Tesla, Musk took on the automobile industry, a challenge that seemed almost impossible at the time. He was betting on electric vehicles in a world dominated by gas-powered cars. His vision wasn't just about building cars. It was about transforming the way humanity thought about energy, transportation, and the environment. It wasn't just about technology, it was about saving the planet. And then there was Neuralink, which promised to merge the human brain with computers, allowing us to keep pace with the ever-evolving world of artificial intelligence. Many thought Musk had lost his mind. But Musk, driven by his belief that humanity had to be proactive about its future, pressed on, determined to push the boundaries of possibility. Despite the successes, Musk's personal life was often in turmoil. He had been married 3 times and had a complicated relationship with the media, who often painted him as a controversial figure, sometimes genius, sometimes madman. His family, especially his father, had their own criticisms, and the weight of the public's expectations was ever present. The sacrifices he made in his personal life were numerous, but his commitment to his work never wavered. Now, as he sat in this courtroom, facing a judge who seemed more interested in belittling him than hearing his case, Musk couldn't help but think back on those years of struggle and sacrifice. This trial wasn't just about protecting his companies. It was about proving that his vision was worth fighting for. He had fought to get to this point, and he wasn't about to let anyone, least of all a mocking judge, tell him he couldn't win. For Musk, this courtroom wasn't just a place for legal matters. It was an arena where his ideals, his vision, and his past collided. His past was filled with moments of doubt, criticism, and rejection. Yet, it was also full of triumphs that came from taking chances and pushing through adversity. This was no different. As the trial continued, Musk sat quietly in his chair, his mind racing through the past. The faces of the people who had helped him, his family, his friends, and the key figures who had been part of his companies flashed before him. But in that moment, he also thought of the faces of those who had doubted him, the people who said he couldn't do it, the ones who mocked him for thinking big. And now, here he was, in a courtroom filled with onlookers, including some of those same critics. This was his chance, not just to win in the courtroom, but to prove something to the world. He had defied the odds before, and he would do it again. As the day came to a close, Musk stood up and walked out of the courtroom, his thoughts clear. This battle had just begun, and while the mocking words of Judge Harrison still echoed in his mind, Musk knew one thing for certain. He wasn't going to let anyone define him. Not then, not now, not ever. The game was on, and Musk wasn't about to lose. The next day in court was a turning point. The air was thick with anticipation, and the mood in the courtroom had shifted. The courtroom was no longer just a place of legal procedures. It had become a battleground, with two opposing forces preparing to clash. On one side was the tech mogul, Elon Musk, with his uncanny ability to turn impossible ideas into reality. On the other side stood a coalition of legal sharks, intent on using the law to wrest control from Musk and his innovative empire. The case at hand was complex, too complex for many to fully comprehend. Musk had, in his latest venture, patented a breakthrough technology for autonomous driving that could potentially change the world of transportation. But, as was often the case in Musk's world, someone was attempting to claim credit for it. A rival tech company, led by an anonymous investor with deep pockets, was suing Musk for intellectual property theft. The plaintiff's case rested on the claim that Musk had stolen their proprietary designs. They argued that Musk's genius inventions were actually derived from their own concept, a technology that they had invested years of research into developing. If they succeeded in the lawsuit, Musk would face not only the loss of the technology but also a significant blow to the credibility of his companies. Musk's legal team was prepared, but the pressure was mounting. They knew that winning this battle wasn't just about proving the legality of his patents. It was about protecting the very core of Musk's empire. If he lost, Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, all of it could fall apart. Musk had faced tough moments before, but this felt different. He had built his empire from the ground up, taking risks others were too scared to take. Now, it felt as though someone was trying to take it all away. It was no longer just a matter of legalities. It was personal. Judge Harrison, still relishing his role as the courtroom's sharp-tongued provocateur, was fully aware of the weight of this trial. It wasn't just about Musk. It was about sending a message to other tech moguls who thought they could rewrite the rules. As he looked across the room, he couldn't hide a small smirk. "Mr. Musk," he began, his voice cutting through the tension, "I'm sure you'd prefer to keep things in the world of innovative technologies and disruption, but today, you'll have to face something much older, something a little less glamorous, legal precedent. Can your innovation really stand up to the law? Let's find out." Musk's eyes narrowed, his usual calm never faltering. He had dealt with harsh critics before, but Judge Harrison's condescension had crossed a line. Musk was prepared to prove, once and for all, that not only could his technology change the world, but he could navigate the world of law as easily as he navigated space. As the case began, the courtroom was filled with the sound of legal jargon, patents, and expert testimony. Musk's legal team had assembled a group of top-tier experts to defend the integrity of his patents. They presented evidence that the autonomous driving technology was completely original, no connections to the rival company's designs. But the opposition, well-funded and ruthless, countered with claims of shadowy backroom deals and confidential leaks, accusing Musk of underhanded tactics. The case was taking its toll. Tensions were rising. Musk's team was getting frustrated, and there was a growing sense that this battle could spiral out of control. For Musk, this wasn't just about winning. It was about survival. His empire had been built on boldness, on challenging the status quo. But here in the courtroom, the stakes were far higher than anything he'd faced before. If he lost, it wouldn't just be the end of this particular technology. It could be the end of everything he had worked for. As the days passed, the case seemed to intensify. Musk, known for his relentless pursuit of excellence, had begun spending every waking hour in the courtroom, absorbing every detail, every argument, every flaw in the opposition's case. He had begun to see the courtroom not as a place of intimidation, but as a chessboard, a place where every move counted. He started thinking like a strategist. He knew that, just like with his ventures in space or electric cars, the law could be bent to his advantage. It wasn't just about what was being argued in the courtroom. It was about controlling the narrative. If he could expose the weaknesses in the plaintiff's case, he could shift the momentum in his favor. That's when the first breakthrough came. Musk's team uncovered a crucial inconsistency in the plaintiff's evidence, one that, if proven, could completely dismantle their entire argument. It was a small detail, but it was enough to shift the tides. The plaintiff's legal team had made a glaring error that could cost them the case. Musk knew that the battle was far from over. But now, for the first time since the trial began, he felt like he had the upper hand. The confidence that had built his empire now radiated through every fiber of his being. The mocking words of Judge Harrison still lingered in his mind, but they no longer stung. This was his moment, and he wasn't going to let it slip away. As the day ended, Musk walked out of the courtroom, his mind racing with possibilities. The next move was his, and he was determined to make it count. The battle was just beginning, and the courtroom was no longer just a place of mockery and skepticism. It had become a place of opportunity, and Musk wasn't going to waste it. The following week in the courtroom was a game-changer. The energy in the air had shifted. No longer was Musk on the back foot, scrambling for a way out of a lawsuit that threatened to dismantle everything he had worked for. Now, with the discovery of that small but crucial inconsistency in the plaintiff's evidence, Musk's legal team was on the offensive. For the first time, it was clear that Musk's genius extended beyond rockets and electric cars. It stretched into the realm of law, strategy, and navigating complex systems. Elon Musk sat at the defendant's table, the faintest hint of a smile playing on his lips. His demeanor was still calm, his mind sharp, but there was something different about him now. The courtroom had become a chessboard, and Musk had found his opening move. The plaintiff's case was crumbling, piece by piece, under the weight of their own mistakes. Musk had sensed the cracks, and now he was prepared to exploit them. Judge Harrison, who had initially relished the chance to mock Musk's supposed naivety, now seemed a little less certain. As Musk's team presented their case, highlighting the plaintiff's errors, inconsistencies, and outright lies, the judge's earlier bravado started to falter. The courtroom, which had once buzzed with skepticism towards Musk, now hummed with a new sense of respect. The moment had arrived where Musk's sharp intellect and unmatched ability to stay cool under pressure were beginning to shine. The plaintiff's legal team, too, had noticed the shift. They were becoming more desperate, grasping at straws to salvage their case. Their arguments were no longer grounded in concrete evidence. They were based on assumptions, misinterpretations, and weak claims. Musk's team, on the other hand, had carefully laid out a solid defense. Every move was calculated, every argument backed by data and fact. And while Musk himself was not a lawyer, it was becoming increasingly apparent that he had studied the law deeply enough to wield it with the same mastery that he applied to his business ventures. Throughout the trial, Musk's calmness had become almost legendary. Where others might have faltered under pressure, he remained resolute, focused on the bigger picture. The tech world had seen him as a visionary, a man who could build a car company from the ground up, launch reusable rockets into space, and create a neural interface to enhance the human brain. But now, the world was beginning to see him in a new light. He wasn't just a businessman. He was a strategist, a problem solver, and a master of navigating obstacles with precision. Despite his evident success in the courtroom, Musk was still acutely aware of the gravity of the situation. Every move he made was crucial. His reputation, his companies, and his legacy were all on the line. But Musk had always thrived under pressure. His relentless drive, his refusal to accept failure, had always propelled him forward. And this courtroom battle, though just another challenge to overcome, was yet another opportunity to prove that innovation wasn't just about technology. It was about resilience, adaptability, and the courage to face seemingly insurmountable odds. Judge Harrison, who had been so quick to mock Musk in the beginning, now found himself grudgingly impressed. He'd seen many tech moguls come and go, some full of bluster, others with good ideas but poor execution. But Musk was different. There was an intelligence and foresight in the way he approached the trial. The judge might have thought this would be just another case of a wealthy businessman trying to bully his way through the system, but Musk had proven that he wasn't going to be intimidated. In fact, he was thriving in this environment of legal combat. As Musk sat in his chair, taking in the progress of the case, his mind began to race ahead. He wasn't just thinking about winning the lawsuit. He was thinking about how he could use this moment to further his ultimate goal. This was more than just a courtroom drama. It was a chance to redefine the way the world viewed technology, business, and even the legal system itself. The next day, Musk's team unveiled their ace, an expert witness who would completely dismantle the plaintiff's primary argument. This witness, a well-respected engineer with a deep understanding of autonomous driving technology, was able to provide irrefutable evidence that Musk's technology had not been derived from any outside sources. The opposing legal team could do nothing but sit in stunned silence as the witness expertly explained the technicalities behind Musk's innovations, showing how the plaintiff's claims were not only unfounded but entirely impossible from a technical perspective. The entire courtroom was stunned. Musk's team had orchestrated this move flawlessly, and now the momentum had completely shifted. The case against Musk was quickly losing its strength. The judge, who had initially dismissed Musk's legal acumen, was now forced to confront the reality of the situation. As the day came to a close, Musk allowed himself a small, satisfied smile. He knew the battle wasn't over yet, but the tide had turned. This wasn't just a win in the courtroom. It was a demonstration of the power of knowledge, preparation, and the ability to adapt to any challenge. Musk stood up and exited the courtroom, his mind already racing to the next step. The battle was far from over, but he was confident that he had won the most crucial round. The world had underestimated him, but time and time again, he had shown that he was not just a dreamer. He was a fighter. And now, he had the legal victory to prove it. The next phase of the war was just around the corner, and Musk was ready. The next morning, the atmosphere in the courtroom was noticeably different. The previous day's breakthrough had left the plaintiff's legal team reeling, their case in tatters. The judge, who had once relished the opportunity to undermine Musk, now appeared more thoughtful, perhaps even begrudgingly respectful. It was clear that the narrative had changed. What had been a dramatic spectacle filled with mockery and disbelief had transformed into a tense legal standoff, with Musk's team now firmly in control. Judge Harrison called the court to order. There was a noticeable shift in his tone as he addressed the room. His earlier sharpness had softened, replaced by a more measured and deliberate cadence. "Mr. Musk, I must admit, your team has presented a compelling case," he said, his voice more neutral than it had been. "But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This trial is far from over." Musk's gaze remained unwavering, his expression as calm and collected as ever. He wasn't here to gloat, to bask in any short-term victory. He had come for something much bigger. For him, this was more than just a lawsuit. It was a chance to reshape the public's perception, to show that intellect and innovation could thrive, even in the courtroom. Elon was no stranger to high-pressure situations. He had faced critical decisions before, whether to risk his last fortune on SpaceX or whether to bet everything on Tesla's future, but this was different. This wasn't about rockets or cars. This was a test of his resilience, his adaptability, and his ability to use every tool at his disposal to navigate challenges. The courtroom had become his latest arena, and he was playing the game on his terms. His legal team was already setting their sights on the next phase of the case. The witness testimony had been a key blow to the plaintiff's arguments, but Musk knew that this wouldn't be the final move. There were still legal nuances to explore, counterarguments to consider, and even public opinion to sway. And Musk, who had always understood the power of narrative, knew that the media would soon turn their focus to this case, scrutinizing every development. Elon's strategy was simple: keep the pressure on, expose every flaw in the opposition's case, and make sure the public knew who the true innovator was. If he had learned anything in his career, it was that being perceived as a visionary was as powerful as being one. As he sat at the defendant's table, his thoughts were already racing toward the next steps. Judge Harrison resumed proceedings, his demeanor more focused as he turned to Musk's team. "Mr. Musk, I'm curious. What is your response to the plaintiff's claims that your company was not forthcoming with evidence in the discovery phase?" His voice was steady, though it carried a slight edge. The question wasn't an attack, but a challenge, a reminder that this was far from over. Musk leaned forward slightly, his eyes locked on the judge, his expression unshaken. His lawyer, an experienced litigator who had worked with Musk for years, stood up to address the court. "Your Honor, we have complied fully with every aspect of the discovery process. The accusations of withholding evidence are unfounded and without merit. Our team has presented every document requested, and any claims to the contrary are a diversionary tactic designed to delay the inevitable." The room fell silent. There was no dramatic flair to the response, no theatrics, just a calm, straightforward answer. But in that moment, it was clear that Musk's legal team had the facts on their side. They weren't just reacting to the plaintiff's claims. They were in control of the conversation. The trial stretched on for days, and with each passing moment, it became more apparent that Musk's approach was working. The plaintiff's case continued to fall apart under the weight of their own contradictions. Expert after expert was called to the stand, but none could refute the technical brilliance of Musk's designs. Even the judge, who had once appeared so certain of the plaintiff's case, seemed increasingly doubtful. One afternoon, as the courtroom broke for lunch, Musk sat in the back, alone with his thoughts. The pressure of the trial, the stakes of the case, seemed almost surreal at times. But there was something invigorating about it, the sense that he was once again proving the impossible could be done. He thought about his early years, how he had arrived in America with little more than a suitcase and a dream. He thought about the sleepless nights spent coding, developing, and thinking about the future. And now, sitting in this courtroom, facing down a team of legal experts and billion-dollar corporations, he realized that this was just another test. Another moment where he had to push the boundaries and show that, no matter the challenge, he could overcome it. Musk's mind raced forward. The trial was still in motion, but he was already thinking about the next phase. Winning this case wasn't just about the immediate victory. It was about the long-term implications. It was about showing the world that true innovation, fueled by creativity and determination, could triumph over anything. And that, perhaps, was the most important victory of all. As the day drew to a close and Musk left the courtroom, the weight of the trial was far from lifted, but his confidence had never been higher. He had weathered the storm and proven that even in the face of adversity, innovation could still lead the way. The endgame was still far off, but Musk knew that the tide had decisively turned in his favor. The courtroom had become a proving ground, and Musk had just demonstrated that he was more than capable of winning this battle. The following week was pivotal. The momentum that Musk's legal team had gained was undeniable, but as the trial stretched on, the pressure was building. Every move now felt like it could shift the tide in either direction. Musk, ever the strategist, was determined not to let the situation become predictable. He had played his cards well, but in the world of high-stakes litigation, anything could happen. And in this case, something unexpected was just around the corner. Judge Harrison, still visibly uneasy from the recent turns in the trial, called for the next phase of the proceedings. The air in the courtroom was thick with tension. The room was packed with journalists, legal experts, and onlookers, all eager to see how the case would unfold. Musk's team had dismantled the plaintiff's case one piece at a time, exposing inconsistencies and weaknesses, but the final act, where the judge would issue his ruling, was still ahead. It was here, in these last moments, that everything could be decided. It was at that moment that the unexpected happened. A man stood up in the back of the courtroom, his face partially obscured by a dark hood and sunglasses. His appearance was so sudden and out of place that it sent a ripple of unease through the room. Musk, who had been staring intently at the documents in front of him, looked up and noticed the disturbance. "Your Honor," the mysterious man called out in a calm, almost detached voice, "I believe I have something that might change everything." The courtroom fell silent. All eyes turned to the man who had just made such a bold claim. Judge Harrison raised an eyebrow, his curiosity piqued. "And who might you be?" he asked, though there was a sharpness to his voice that suggested he was not ready for any more surprises. The man took a step forward, his movements slow and deliberate. "I'm someone who has been watching this case closely," he said, his tone smooth but with a trace of authority. "I have information that could alter the entire course of this trial." A murmur ran through the courtroom. What could this person possibly know that would change everything? Musk's attention was instantly caught. Was this some sort of tactic from the opposition, or was it something more? Judge Harrison leaned back in his chair. "This had better be good," he muttered, gesturing for the man to approach. The man removed his sunglasses, revealing a pair of sharp, calculating eyes. His presence was magnetic, almost unsettling, and there was something about the way he carried himself that suggested he wasn't just any ordinary person. There was a sense that he knew far more than he was letting on. He seemed confident, perhaps too confident. "I'm someone who has intimate knowledge of both companies involved in this case," the man continued, his voice gaining strength. "And I'm here to reveal that the plaintiff's claims against Mr. Musk are not just false, they are deliberately fabricated." The revelation struck like a lightning bolt. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. Could this be true? Musk's legal team exchanged glances, clearly thrown off by the sudden appearance of this mysterious figure. The plaintiff's lawyers looked alarmed, clearly unsure of how to respond. Judge Harrison raised his hand to silence the room, his expression now a mix of skepticism and intrigue. "Do you have evidence to back up such a bold claim?" The man nodded. "I do, and I have the documents to prove it." He motioned to his briefcase, and a court officer brought it forward. The man opened it carefully, revealing a stack of papers and digital files. "This is a series of emails, confidential communications, and financial transactions that were deliberately concealed from the court during the discovery phase. These documents show that the plaintiff's entire case is based on fabricated evidence, manufactured to undermine Mr. Musk's business ventures." Musk's eyes narrowed. This was unexpected, but it wasn't exactly a surprise. In the world he operated in, there were always forces working behind the scenes, attempting to gain the upper hand. He had faced many battles in his career, against entrenched industries, powerful competitors, and critics, and he had come out on top. Now, he was once again up against a shadowy adversary, but this time, it seemed they had made a critical misstep. Judge Harrison glanced at the documents, his eyes scanning them quickly. "Is this true?" he asked the plaintiff's attorneys, his tone growing more serious. The head lawyer for the plaintiff, who had once been so confident, now seemed rattled. We were not aware of any such documents," the plaintiff's lead attorney stammered. "This is absurd. These papers are clearly fabricated." The mysterious man held his ground. "I'm afraid you're mistaken," he replied smoothly. "These documents were intentionally withheld from the court, and I can provide further evidence to demonstrate that the plaintiff's case has been a carefully orchestrated campaign to steal intellectual property and manipulate the judicial process." For the first time, there was a visible crack in the plaintiff's case. The courtroom had gone from tense to electric, with people now leaning forward, hanging on every word. Musk's legal team quickly began to pore over the documents, confirming their authenticity, while Musk remained still, calculating his next move. Judge Harrison looked at the mysterious man, his gaze calculating. "And what do you expect in return for this information?" he asked, the suspicion in his voice palpable. The man's lips curled into a faint smile. "I'm not here for money. I'm here because I believe in the future. I believe in innovation. And I believe that Mr. Musk is the only one who can change the world, not these shadowy figures in the background. I have a vested interest in making sure the truth comes out." Musk didn't react immediately, but inside, his mind was racing. Who was this man? Why had he chosen this moment to reveal himself? And what did he want in exchange for exposing the conspiracy against him? This wasn't just about the lawsuit anymore. It was about something much bigger. As the courtroom sat in stunned silence, Musk made a decision. He stood up, his voice calm but firm. "Your Honor, if these allegations are true, then the entire foundation of this case is a lie. And I think it's time we put an end to this charade." With that, the courtroom fell into an even deeper silence. The game had just changed in a way that no one had expected. Musk's battle in the courtroom was no longer just a fight to prove his innocence. It was now a fight to expose the dark forces trying to take him down. And, as always, Musk was ready to turn the tables. The revelation in the courtroom had sent shockwaves through everyone present. Musk's calculated silence in the face of the mysterious man's bombshell speech seemed to amplify the weight of what had just been exposed. For the first time, the public and the media were beginning to see a much larger picture than anyone had anticipated. This wasn't simply about a lawsuit. It was a fight against a much darker conspiracy. And Elon Musk was no stranger to adversaries working in the shadows. Judge Harrison, though taken aback by the sudden twist in the case, quickly regained control of the proceedings. "I'm ordering a brief recess," he said firmly, his eyes still locked on the documents the mysterious man had presented. "This information requires thorough examination. We will reconvene in 1 hour." The room buzzed with low conversations. The plaintiff's attorneys were visibly shaken, huddled together in a corner, likely trying to figure out how to navigate the chaos this revelation had thrown into their carefully constructed case. Musk's legal team was equally on edge, but there was a quiet confidence behind their eyes now. This could be the breakthrough they'd been hoping for. Musk, ever composed, leaned back in his chair. His expression was unreadable, but his mind was already working through the next steps. There was no doubt in his mind that this mysterious figure, whoever he was, had just thrown a serious wrench into the plaintiff's plans. But there was also the question of motive. Why had this person chosen now, of all times, to reveal the truth? As Musk sat quietly, reflecting on the unexpected turn of events, his lawyer, Anna Fields, leaned in. "Elon, we need to be cautious. This could be a setup, or it could be the break we've been waiting for. We need to dig into who this guy is and what he's really after. We can't let this distraction derail us." Musk nodded slowly, acknowledging her concern. He'd learned long ago that the world of business, especially at his level, was filled with uncertainties. No victory was ever guaranteed, and every challenge could potentially come from an unseen angle. The lawsuit wasn't just about defending his companies. It was about defending his vision. This new player could be an ally, or someone with his own agenda. But one thing Musk knew for certain was that he couldn't afford to overlook this revelation. It was too important. If the mysterious man was telling the truth, it could expose not just a weak case against him, but a deliberate conspiracy to ruin him. The recess felt longer than it actually was. When the court session resumed, the mood in the room had shifted. The mysterious man had left the courtroom as suddenly as he had arrived, but the buzz of his appearance still hung in the air. Judge Harrison sat at the bench, his gavel raised, and the courtroom quieted once again. "Mr. Musk," the judge began, his voice steady but tinged with an underlying uncertainty, "you and your team have clearly demonstrated a strong defense. However, with the new information presented today, we need to ensure that all the facts are on the table. I'm giving you until the end of the week to provide an analysis of the documents presented by the anonymous witness." Musk stood and nodded respectfully. "Thank you, Your Honor. We will thoroughly review the documents and ensure everything is addressed properly." The judge nodded in response, his expression inscrutable. "Very well. This court is adjourned for today." As the gavel hit the sound block, signaling the end of the session, Musk's legal team quickly gathered around him. Anna Fields was the first to speak. "We need to get to the bottom of this quickly. If these documents are legitimate, it's a game changer." Musk's face was a mask of calm, but his mind was moving a mile a minute. "What's the best way to find out who that man is?" he asked. "We've already initiated some background checks," Anna replied. "But we need more than just surface-level info. We need to know who he really is and what his intentions are." Musk paused, considering the implications. The mysterious figure could be someone with personal motives, someone from his past, or a player with a deeper connection to the plaintiff. Musk's mind quickly ran through a list of potential candidates who could be behind such a move, but none stood out. He wasn't ready to jump to conclusions just yet. "I'll take care of it," Musk said quietly, standing up. "Get the documents in front of me. I'll review them personally." The rest of the day passed in a blur for Musk. As he pored over the documents the mysterious man had presented, he found himself increasingly unsettled. The emails, financial records, and communications were damning, painting a clear picture of the plaintiff's fraudulent activities. But what disturbed Musk the most was the underlying network of individuals involved. This wasn't just a case of a disgruntled business rival or competitor. It looked like a coordinated effort to undermine his work at every turn. Whoever was behind this conspiracy had resources, influence, and a clear agenda. They were using the legal system as a weapon to dismantle everything Musk had built. But why? What was their endgame? As the evening wore on, Musk's thoughts began to turn inward. His entire career had been a battle against forces that wanted to suppress innovation, to maintain the status quo. Whether it was the auto industry, the aerospace sector, or even the energy market, Musk had always been the outlier, the disruptor. And he had paid a heavy price for it: criticism, skepticism, and personal attacks. But this was different. This wasn't just about business. It was about something much more profound. Whoever was behind this attack wanted to take more than just Musk's fortune. They wanted to crush his spirit, his vision, and the future he was working to create. And that, Musk knew, was something he could never allow. As Musk prepared for the next phase of this legal battle, he knew this was only the beginning. The conspiracy had been unveiled, but there was still much to uncover. He wasn't just fighting for victory in court, he was fighting for his legacy. And with every challenge he faced, Musk knew that the world was watching, and it was time to prove once again that nothing, not even the darkest forces in the world, could stop him from achieving his vision. The following days were a blur of activity. Musk's legal team worked tirelessly, combing through the documents presented by the mysterious figure, piecing together the puzzle he had laid out. Anna Fields, his lead attorney, had already initiated background checks on the individual who had come forward, but the process was slow. Musk was growing impatient. Time was of the essence, and the longer this dragged on, the more it seemed like the opposition was maneuvering behind the scenes to regroup and strike again. But there was one thing that Musk knew for sure now. This wasn't just a legal battle. This was a war. And he was in it not just for himself, but for the future he was building, the technologies he was pioneering. Whoever had orchestrated this conspiracy wasn't just aiming to take down one man. They were trying to extinguish an entire movement. Musk was no stranger to opposition, but this felt different. It was as if a shadow was lurking in the background, waiting for the right moment to strike. He sat in his office late into the night, the glow of his laptop screen illuminating his face. His thoughts were consumed by the case, but also by the bigger picture. Who was behind the smear campaign? Why had they chosen this particular moment to come after him? What were they hoping to achieve by targeting him and his companies? The door to his office creaked open, and Anna Fields entered with a grim look on her face. She set a file down on his desk and took a seat across from him. Musk looked up, sensing that she was about to deliver news that wouldn't be easy to hear. Elon, we've traced the mysterious man. His name is Richard Monroe, Anna began, her voice steady but filled with caution. He's not just some random whistleblower. He has deep ties to several high-profile tech companies, some of which have been in direct competition with Tesla and SpaceX. Musk's eyebrows furrowed. Tell me more. Anna continued, her fingers flipping through the pages of her file. Monroe has a history in corporate espionage, though it's never been proven. He's known for playing both sides, and his connections run deep. We've also found evidence that he's been in close contact with key players from the plaintiff's side for months leading up to this trial. It's looking more and more like this was all part of a larger strategy. Musk sat back in his chair, absorbing the information. A strategist, huh? He muttered under his breath. So this was never about the case. It was about a much larger plan. Anna nodded. Exactly. It's not just about winning this case. It's about damaging Tesla's and SpaceX's reputation, breaking down the momentum you've built for years. Monroe and his backers understand that. They've targeted you because they see you as a threat to their control over the future of the industry. Musk's mind was racing. What's his endgame? Does he want to take over the companies? Or is he working with someone else? We're still piecing it all together, Anna replied. But it's clear that Monroe has been setting the stage for this for a long time. He's been strategically leaking information, planting doubts in key investors, and even manipulating public perception. This trial is just one battle in a much bigger war. And unfortunately, the public's opinion is swaying against you. Musk knew this was no ordinary fight. It was one thing to battle in the boardroom or the market. It was another entirely to battle in the court of public opinion. If Monroe and his team had been able to orchestrate this kind of attack, It meant they had resources, influence, and the power to manipulate the narrative on a global scale. He thought back to his past, his journey from a young entrepreneur with big dreams to the CEO of some of the most ambitious companies in the world. He had made enemies along the way, but this felt like something else. There were powerful players behind the scenes, and Musk could feel the walls closing in. Musk stood up and walked toward the window, staring out at the city below. The lights flickered, the energy of the world around him pulsing through the night air. It was easy to feel alone in moments like these, but Musk knew better than to let his guard down. He had fought against impossible odds before, and he had always found a way to prevail. He turned back toward Anna. "We need to go on the offensive," he said with a determination in his voice. "We can't let them control the narrative. I'll give a public statement, address the lies head-on. If they're going to drag me through the mud, I'm going to drag them right along with me." Anna hesitated. "Elon, be careful. This could escalate things. If we expose Monroe and the conspiracy too early, we risk losing the public sympathy. We need a strategy, not just a reaction." Musk smiled faintly. "I don't react, I strategize. It's time to take control of the narrative. Let's turn their attack into an opportunity." Later that evening, Musk appeared on a live broadcast, sitting before the cameras with the same composed demeanor that had always defined him. His message was simple: the truth would prevail, no matter how hard they tried to twist the facts. "People are scared of change," Musk said, his voice calm but filled with conviction. "When you disrupt the status quo, when you challenge the way things have always been done, you make a lot of enemies. But I won't back down. Tesla and SpaceX are changing the world, and no amount of corporate manipulation can stop that." The broadcast was brief, but it sent ripples through the media. Musk had taken control of the situation, boldly challenging the forces behind the conspiracy without hesitation. His words were calculated, confident, and more than anything, they reaffirmed the one thing that no one could take from him: his vision for the future. As the cameras cut to black, Musk knew that this was just the beginning. The shadows behind the curtain were beginning to emerge, and it was time to shine a light on them. He wasn't going to let anyone undermine the future he was building, not without a fight. With each step Musk took, the stakes grew higher, but so did his resolve. The game had changed, and now it was time for Musk to take back control. The courtroom battle was far from over, but he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The conspiracy would be exposed, and his legacy would remain intact. It was only a matter of time before the truth came to light. As the days passed, Musk's bold public statements had set the media landscape ablaze. Opinions were divided, and controversy seemed to follow him wherever he went. But Musk knew how to leverage the spotlight. He had done it time and time again throughout his career. The chaos in the press was just another opportunity to advance his goals, to challenge the narrative that the opposition was so desperately trying to create. In the midst of the media frenzy, Musk took a step back. The battle wasn't just about public opinion. It was about uncovering the full extent of the conspiracy and using that knowledge to dismantle his enemies. His legal team was hard at work, tracking down leads and digging into Monroe's past. Musk had learned long ago that every piece of information, no matter how small, could be the key to cracking open a larger mystery. One afternoon, as Musk was reviewing a report from Anna Fields on Monroe's background, his phone buzzed. It was a message from an anonymous source. The text was short but chilling. "The files you're looking for are deeper than you think. You're not just fighting a lawsuit, you're fighting a global syndicate. Monroe is only the beginning." Musk felt a chill run down his spine. He had known that the conspiracy was far-reaching, but this was confirmation that he was up against something much bigger than he had imagined. A global syndicate? What did that even mean? Was Monroe just a pawn in a much larger game? He quickly forwarded the message to Anna, along with a note: "We need to dig deeper. This goes beyond the case." Anna's response came minutes later. "I've been following the trail, Elon. I think I found something. We'll need to act fast." As night fell, Musk couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. He had always been able to think several steps ahead, but this new revelation threw him off balance. A global syndicate? Who was behind it? And why target him? His companies, his vision? It felt as though the world he had built, one of innovation and progress, was now under attack from every direction. The next morning, Anna called Musk with urgent news. We've traced some of Monroe's financial connections, and they lead back to an international group of investors with ties to various industries, everything from energy to technology, even military contracts. This goes beyond just business rivalry. It's a calculated move to control the future of innovation. They see you as the biggest threat to their power. Musk felt a mix of disbelief and anger. This wasn't just about business. This was about a small group of people trying to control the future, to stifle progress, and to use Musk as an example to scare off other disruptors. They were playing a long game, and Musk was caught right in the middle of it. "We need to hit them where it hurts," Musk said, his voice steady but fierce. "We can't just fight this in the courtroom. We need to expose them to the world." Anna agreed. "It's time to go public with everything we found. We'll give them a chance to respond. But if they try to cover their tracks, we'll expose them for who they really are." But as Anna spoke, Musk's mind was already racing ahead, formulating a strategy that went beyond just exposing the syndicate. This was about taking back control, not just of the public narrative, but of the technological future that they were trying to steal. "We need to create something they can't ignore," Musk said, his eyes narrowing. "Something that forces their hand and shows the world exactly who they are. Let's announce a major new initiative, something that will shake the very foundations of their control." Anna was intrigued. "What are you thinking?" Musk's lips curled into a small, confident smile. "We're going to accelerate the Mars program. We're going to announce the first public human mission to Mars, and we're going to make it happen faster than anyone thought possible. No one can ignore that." The idea was simple but powerful. The Mars mission was his trump card. It was the ultimate symbol of what Musk stood for, pushing the boundaries of human potential and making the impossible possible. Announcing a new timeline for the mission, one that defied all expectations, would take the focus off the lawsuit and place it squarely on the future. It would send a message to the world. No matter how deep the conspiracy went, Musk's vision for the future of humanity was unstoppable. The press conference was set for the following week. As the date approached, Musk's legal team continued to gather evidence, piecing together the puzzle of the global syndicate. But Musk's mind was focused on one thing: the Mars mission. It was the perfect counterattack, a bold declaration of intent, a reminder to the world that the future wasn't something anyone could control, not even those who thought they could hold the keys to the future in their hands. As the day of the press conference arrived, Musk could feel the weight of the moment. This was more than just about Tesla, SpaceX, or even Mars. This was a statement that would echo across industries, across the world. The game was changing, and Musk was going to be the one to change it. The cameras flashed, the reporters crowded around, and Musk stood at the podium with the same calm, resolute expression that had become his trademark. He wasn't just unveiling a mission. He was unveiling a vision for the future, one that could never be controlled or contained by the forces trying to stop him. "This is the future we're working toward," Musk said, his voice steady but filled with determination. "A future where humanity pushes the boundaries of possibility, where we look to the stars, and we know that nothing is impossible. Our first crewed mission to Mars is happening sooner than anyone expects, and we will get there." With those words, the battle lines were drawn. The syndicate would no longer be able to hide in the shadows. Musk had stepped into the light, and now it was time for the world to see the truth. This fight wasn't just about winning in court, it was about fighting for the future. And Musk was ready for whatever came next. The press conference was a resounding success. Musk's bold declaration about the Mars mission sent shockwaves through the tech world, eclipsing the ongoing court case for the time being. The media was abuzz with speculation about the ambitious timeline, and Tesla and SpaceX shares surged as investors rallied behind Musk's vision. It was exactly the kind of momentum he needed to regain control of the narrative. But as the dust settled, Musk knew that the battle wasn't over. He had made his statement to the world, but the forces arrayed against him were far from done. He had exposed the syndicate's tactics, but they were not the type to retreat quietly. Musk understood better than anyone that when you shine a light on corruption, the cockroaches often scatter, but they also get smarter, more dangerous. It was in the midst of this renewed tension that an unexpected visitor showed up at Musk's office, someone who had been on the periphery of the case but had never directly been involved in Musk circles before. The man who entered was James Hargrove, a former business partner of Richard Monroe. Musk had never interacted with him directly, but Anna Fields had flagged his name in some of the documents they had been going through. He was older than Musk, his suit slightly rumpled, as if he had been running from something, or perhaps running toward something. Musk rose from his desk, eyeing the man with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. "Can I help you?" Hargrove held up his hands, a gesture of peace. "I think I can help you, Mr. Musk. At least, I hope so. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here because I know the truth about Richard Monroe, and I think it's time someone did the right thing." Musk's eyebrows furrowed. "Go on." Hargrove took a deep breath before speaking. "I used to work closely with Monroe. We were both involved in a series of high-stakes business ventures, but he's not what you think he is. He's been playing a dangerous game for years, but I never realized how deep it went until recently. I was just as much a pawn in his schemes as anyone else." Musk sat back, intrigued. "You're telling me you're here to help me? After everything Monroe's done?" Hargrove nodded. "Monroe has always been about power, but lately, I've been seeing a pattern, and I think he's making a big mistake. He's underestimated you, Elon. He thought he could break you, destroy everything you've built. But I'm telling you, you're more than capable of taking him down, and I want to help you do it." Musk studied Hargrove carefully. There was something genuine about his words, but Musk wasn't one to trust easily. "Why now? Why come forward after all this time?" "I've been working through my own demons," Hargrove admitted. "I've seen what Monroe has been up to, how he's been manipulating people, including me. I thought I could ignore it, but I can't anymore. I've been in this game long enough to know when something is bigger than it seems. This syndicate he's involved with, it's more dangerous than anyone realizes. And if you don't take it seriously, they'll crush everything you've built." Musk leaned forward. "All right, what do you know that I don't?" Hargrove pulled out a set of documents, each page marked with encrypted codes and confidential stamps. "These are the internal communications I've been able to get my hands on. They're not much, but they're enough to show how deep Monroe's ties go with the syndicate. They're not just trying to take you down, they want to control everything. The global energy market, the military tech industry, and even the space race. They've been pulling strings for years." Musk glanced over the papers. The names listed, the projects detailed. These weren't just shady business deals. This was a far-reaching network, one that was operating in the shadows. Monroe was only a small part of it. The syndicate's power extended far beyond anything Musk had imagined. Hargrove continued, his voice lowering to a near whisper. "They've been gathering information on you, watching you closely, trying to find your weaknesses. But here's the thing. Monroe's arrogant. He thinks he has you cornered. But if you act fast, you can throw them off balance. It's not just about taking down Monroe. It's about striking at the heart of the syndicate before they have a chance to regroup." Musk nodded, processing everything Hargrove had said. The syndicate was bigger than he thought, far bigger than just one person. It wasn't just about winning this court case anymore. It was about stopping a global power play that threatened not just his companies, but the very future he was working to build. "Thank you for bringing this to me," Musk said, looking up at Hargrove. "This could be the break we need. But I need more than just information. I need action. I'm going to expose them, every last one of them." Hargrove nodded. "I'm with you. Whatever it takes." Musk's eyes gleamed with newfound determination. "Then let's make sure they regret ever underestimating me." As Hargrove left the office, Musk knew that this was only the beginning of a much larger battle. The syndicate had made its move, but now it was Musk's turn to strike back. The pieces were falling into place. The world was about to see a side of Elon Musk that few had ever witnessed. The full force of his genius and his willingness to fight for the future, no matter the cost. The stakes had never been higher, and the fight was far from over. With Hargrove now on board, Musk's sense of urgency grew. He knew that the syndicate wouldn't just sit idly by while he uncovered their secrets. They had already shown they were willing to go to great lengths to protect their interests, and Musk had no illusions about how dangerous they could be. The stakes had shifted from a courtroom battle to a global chess game, and Musk was prepared to play. The next few days were a whirlwind. Musk's legal team continued to follow up on the leads that Hargrove had provided, digging deeper into the syndicate's operations. Anna Fields had already set up meetings with some trusted cybersecurity experts to analyze the encrypted documents Hargrove had handed over. Every move was calculated. The aim was clear: find their vulnerabilities, strike where it would hurt the most, and disrupt their operations before they had a chance to counterattack. Despite the mounting pressure, Musk knew that time was on his side. The syndicate had been operating in the shadows for so long that they were likely overconfident. They believed that their power was unassailable, that they could control the narrative, and that Musk was just a temporary distraction. They hadn't realized that Musk was more than just a tech entrepreneur. He was a visionary, a disruptor who saw opportunities where others saw roadblocks. On the third day after Hargrove's revelation, Musk received an encrypted message from Anna. "We've got a hit. The syndicate is planning something big. We don't know what, but it's coming fast. We need to move now." Musk didn't hesitate. He immediately called a meeting with his top advisors, including Anna, Hargrove, and several trusted members of his legal and cybersecurity teams. The plan was simple. They needed to expose the syndicate's operations before it was too late. But how? Hargrove, looking more tense than usual, spoke up. "I've seen their patterns. They're preparing to launch a major public initiative in the next few weeks, something that'll make it hard for anyone to question their influence. I suspect it's tied to the upcoming election. They'll use it as a way to push their agenda forward, making their power seem unstoppable. You can't just expose them publicly. They'll have too much protection. We need something bigger." Musk leaned in. "What are you suggesting?" Hargrove paused, eyeing the group before continuing. "You need to take the fight directly to them. The way to break their influence isn't to just expose them. It's to hijack their narrative. You need to do something that makes it clear you're not just a threat to their business interests. You're a threat to their entire agenda." Musk was intrigued. "What do you mean by that?" Hargrove continued. "If you go public with a game-changing initiative, something that not only counters their influence but takes the attention of the entire world, you'll force their hand. They'll have no choice but to confront you head-on. And when they do, that's when we strike. It's the perfect storm." Musk's mind raced as he considered Hargrove's words. He had already announced the accelerated Mars mission, but this was different. It wasn't just about the mission anymore. This was about creating a shift in global power, a move that could shake the very foundations of the syndicate's influence. After a few moments of quiet contemplation, Musk stood up. "All right, I know what we need to do." Musk gathered his team and laid out his vision. "We need to announce a new global initiative, something that will put a spotlight on the syndicate's influence in every industry they're involved in. We'll create a new platform for clean, renewable energy, one that will disrupt the energy market and force the syndicate to reveal their hand." The team was buzzing with energy. It was a bold move, but it was exactly what Musk needed to turn the tables. By aligning himself with the future of energy, he could not only protect his own companies but also strike a powerful blow against the global elite that sought to control the world's resources. Musk's plan was to leverage Tesla's innovation and SpaceX's capabilities to create a new infrastructure for solar energy and space-based power, one that would decentralize energy production and make it accessible to everyone, regardless of location or economic status. This would take away the syndicate's ability to control the flow of energy, making them vulnerable. The next few days were a whirlwind of preparations. Musk's team worked tirelessly to develop the technical details of the new energy platform, while Anna and the legal team worked on ensuring that the syndicate wouldn't be able to block the initiative through lawsuits or other means. As the announcement date grew nearer, Musk could feel the tension building. The media was already buzzing about his next move, and rumors began circulating that Musk was preparing something monumental. The syndicate, ever watchful, surely had their eyes on him. They wouldn't let this happen without a fight. But Musk was determined. This was bigger than just winning a legal case. It was about reshaping the future. The road to change is never easy, but it's always worth fighting for. Have you ever had to face your biggest challenge head-on? Let us know in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed for the next part of Musk's incredible journey. The morning of the announcement arrived. Musk stood before a crowd of reporters, cameras flashing, eager eyes awaiting his words. This wasn't just another press event. This was a statement, one that would challenge the very forces trying to crush his vision. Musk smiled confidently and addressed the audience. Today, we take the first step toward a new, decentralized energy future. A future where the power of the sun and the stars can be harnessed by everyone. We are launching a new global energy platform that will not only provide clean, renewable energy, but also empower individuals and communities to take control of their own energy needs. This is not just an energy revolution, it's a revolution for the future of humanity. As he finished speaking, the room fell silent for a moment. Musk could feel the weight of his words sink in. This was the moment he had been working toward, the beginning of the end for the syndicate. And as he looked around at the reporters and cameras, he knew one thing for sure. This was just the beginning of a new kind of fight. The announcement sent ripples across the globe. As Musk's bold plan to disrupt the energy sector went public, the world watched in awe and anticipation. Analysts were astounded by the audacity of the move. It wasn't just a game-changer for the energy market. It was a direct challenge to the very heart of the syndicate's power. But with every game-changing move, there comes a response. The syndicate was not going to let this go unnoticed. The powerful individuals pulling strings in the shadows were not ones to back down quietly when their interests were threatened. Musk knew they would strike back, and he wasn't wrong. The first sign of the syndicate's reaction came just hours after Musk's announcement. A highly publicized lawsuit was filed against Tesla, SpaceX, and several other Musk-affiliated ventures, alleging illegal monopolistic practices. The suit was filed in multiple jurisdictions and seemed designed to cripple Musk's companies with endless legal entanglements. The legal team, which had been preparing for this moment, sprang into action, but the sheer scale of the attack was overwhelming. In the midst of this, another, more personal threat emerged. Musk received a cryptic message from an unknown number, a brief but chilling text. "You're playing a dangerous game, Elon. We will crush you. You're not the first to challenge us, and you won't be the last." The message was a reminder of the syndicate's far-reaching influence. They had resources, legal, financial, and political, that Musk couldn't match in every arena. But he wasn't going to let fear dictate his next move. If anything, this was just the beginning of the war he was now fully engaged in. Musk called for an emergency meeting with his team. Anna Fields, Hargrove, and the rest of his inner circle gathered at his headquarters. He stood before them, his expression intense. "They want to fight," Musk said, his voice steady but filled with determination. "And we'll give them one. But we do it on our terms. The lawsuit is just the beginning. They'll try to suffocate us with paperwork and delays. But we have something they don't, the truth. And we have the people's support. We're going to make sure this doesn't end with us on the defensive." Anna spoke up, her voice calm but resolute. "We have to turn this attack into an opportunity. The lawsuit will take time to work its way through the system, but we can use the media to our advantage. We need to continue building the momentum from the energy platform announcement and push the narrative that this lawsuit is nothing more than a desperate attempt to protect a corrupt system." Musk nodded. "Exactly. We need to control the conversation. If we can frame this as a fight for the future of energy, and if we can make it clear that the syndicate is using their influence to stop innovation, then we can turn public opinion in our favor." Hargrove, who had remained quiet until now, added, "It's not just about the media. We need to go on the offensive. We've got the data from the documents I provided. If we can leak some of the syndicate's internal communications, just enough to give the public a taste, we can start exposing their corruption." Musk's eyes lit up. "That's it. We don't wait for them to make the next move. We make it for them." The plan was set in motion. While the legal team worked to counter the lawsuit, Musk's communications team ramped up their efforts to keep the public focused on the energy initiative. At the same time, a carefully orchestrated leak of documents began. The aim was not to flood the market with raw information, but to drip-feed it in a controlled manner, just enough to create doubt about the syndicate's operations, just enough to make the public question who was really pulling the strings behind the scenes. The first leak came 3 days later, an email exchange between two high-ranking members of the syndicate discussing ways to suppress technological innovation in the energy sector. The email detailed a plan to delay clean energy advancements by influencing government policy, lobbying key politicians, and using media manipulation to stifle public demand for alternative energy sources. The leak hit the news cycle like a bombshell. As the media pounced on the story, the syndicate went into damage control mode. Spin doctors, lawyers, and lobbyists were dispatched to minimize the fallout. But the damage was already done. The leak exposed their tactics, and the public was quick to rally behind Musk's call for a cleaner, more transparent future. The pressure was mounting on the syndicate, but Musk knew they wouldn't go down without a fight. The next few days brought even more revelations. Leaked documents showed connections between key members of the syndicate and political figures who had been pushing back against Musk's initiatives. The walls were closing in on them, and Musk wasn't going to stop until every last piece of the syndicate's operation was exposed. But as the tension grew, so did the risk. The deeper Musk went into the syndicate's secrets, the more dangerous things became. He wasn't just battling corporate giants anymore. He was up against a shadowy network with power in places Musk had never fully realized. Power that would stop at nothing to protect itself. As Musk's team continued their efforts, one thing was clear. The battle for the future was just beginning. The syndicate had underestimated him, but now they were fully aware of the threat he posed. And Musk was ready to take the next step, no matter the cost. The war was on, and it was far from over. The public response to the leaks was nothing short of explosive. Social media exploded with hashtags demanding transparency and reform in the energy industry. Environmental activists, who had previously been skeptical of Musk's ambitious Mars mission, now rallied behind his push for renewable energy, seeing him as the hero of their cause. Investors, too, took notice, pouring money into Tesla and SpaceX as the company's stock prices shot up in response to the scandal that was now unfolding. Musk knew that he had achieved the first victory in this battle. He had forced the syndicate into a defensive position. But as the public's outrage grew, so did the syndicate's resolve. Behind closed doors, their response was swift and calculated. They would not allow this challenge to go unanswered. Musk was working late in the Tesla headquarters when he got word that the syndicate had launched a counterattack, this time, a more subtle one. Tesla's systems had been targeted by a massive cyber attack, crippling the company's internal networks and temporarily halting production. The attack had been sophisticated, coordinated, and seemingly designed to disrupt operations without leaving a trace. Musk's heart sank as he looked at the damage reports on his screen. This wasn't a random act of hacking. This was calculated, and it had the syndicate's fingerprints all over it. Within hours, Musk convened an emergency meeting with his team, including Anna, Hargrove, and his cybersecurity experts. The atmosphere was tense as they gathered around a large table, eyes focused on the screen displaying the attack's aftermath. "We've been hit hard," Musk said, his voice cold but determined. "But this isn't the first time we've faced a challenge like this. We need to hit back. Harder." Anna nodded. "We've got teams working on the technical side of things, but this attack was too advanced. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. It's not just about the data they stole. It's about what it represents. They're trying to destabilize us, to make us look vulnerable." Musk's gaze sharpened. "And they think it'll stop us. They think we'll fold. But they're wrong. This is exactly what we wanted. Now we can expose their dirty tactics even more publicly." Hargrove spoke up, his tone grim. "They're playing for keeps. They won't stop until they've completely crushed you. This isn't just about business anymore. They see you as a threat to their entire system. Musk, you need to be prepared for a bigger fight. They've got resources that go far beyond what you can imagine." Musk stood up, his posture unwavering. "I'm not going anywhere. This is just the beginning." The attack on Tesla's systems was just one piece of the larger puzzle. Musk's team soon discovered that the syndicate's reach extended into a web of global banking institutions and media outlets, all of which were now working to turn the tide in their favor. Media outlets began casting doubt on Musk's credibility, accusing him of reckless behavior and linking the energy initiative to supposed environmental risks that Musk had dismissed in the past. Politicians who had once been allies in his push for sustainable energy now hesitated, feeling the pressure from corporate donors with ties to the syndicate. Musk knew he had to respond, but this time, it wasn't just about facing off against the syndicate's legal or media power. It was about finding a way to break through the layers of control they had over the global narrative. He couldn't rely on traditional methods anymore. He had to do something more daring, more unexpected. As Musk sat in his office that night, Staring at the array of data coming in from his team, the solution came to him like a flash of inspiration. He knew the syndicate relied heavily on controlling public perception through media, lobbying, and corporate partnerships. But what if he could disrupt that control in a way no one expected? Musk called Anna, Hargrove, and the key members of his team into a strategy meeting the following morning. We're going to create our own media platform, a transparent, decentralized media channel where people can get the truth. We'll give the public a direct connection to what we're doing, how we're fighting back. We'll show them exactly what's going on behind the scenes. Anna's eyes widened in realization. You're talking about creating a platform that bypasses the syndicate's control entirely. It's genius, but it'll take time to build. Hargrove, sensing the magnitude of the idea, added, if we can do this right, it could completely shift the balance of power. The syndicate can't control the narrative if people have access to real-time, unfiltered information. They'll lose their grip. Musk's mind was already racing through the logistics. We don't have time to wait. We need to move quickly. Our first step is to launch a live stream. Not just any stream. This will be a behind-the-scenes look at our operations, the challenges we're facing, and the people who are working tirelessly to make this vision a reality. We'll expose the corruption of the syndicate by showing the world how transparent, honest business should be done. In the following days, Musk and his team worked around the clock to create the platform. It wasn't just about exposing the syndicate. It was about proving that a new kind of business, one rooted in transparency and innovation, was not only possible but essential for the future. The live stream went live just a week later. In it, Musk spoke directly to the camera, explaining the hurdles they had overcome, the incredible progress Tesla and SpaceX had made, and how the syndicate's attacks had only strengthened his resolve. He revealed key details about their operations, showing the world how they had manipulated both the media and global political institutions to keep control. The response was immediate. Viewership surged, and for the first time in the entire campaign, the public began to question the syndicate's motives. Media outlets began scrambling to cover the story, not from the perspective of the syndicate, but from the angle Musk had presented, a fight for the future. With the launch of the media platform, Musk had turned the tables. The syndicate was no longer in control of the narrative. The war had entered a new phase, one where the truth would no longer be hidden. The next battle would be even harder, but Musk was ready for whatever came next. And so, the fight for the future continued. As Musk's live stream gained momentum, the world began to notice a seismic shift. Not just in the public's perception of Musk, but in the very foundations of the power structures that had long controlled industries. The syndicate had underestimated him. They hadn't realized that Musk's transparency, his willingness to expose the ugly truths of the corporate world, would resonate so deeply with the masses. The mainstream media, once puppets of the syndicate, began to shift their narrative. Analysts, journalists, and influencers who had previously been skeptical of Musk's ventures started to question why the global elite were so eager to suppress progress. As the leaks continued to pour out, the public began to demand answers. And Musk, by putting his life and his companies under the spotlight, had become their champion. But as the pressure on the syndicate mounted, their response became more aggressive. They had deep pockets, and they were willing to use every tool at their disposal to fight back. While Musk's media platform continued to expose their secrets, the syndicate had begun a campaign of defamation, using their vast resources to discredit Musk and anyone associated with him. A smear campaign was launched against Musk, painting him as a reckless visionary, a man more interested in self-promotion than in the future of humanity. Fake news stories flooded the airwaves, trying to convince the public that Musk's projects were built on lies and false promises. His environmental initiatives were painted as a facade, an attempt to hide his true agenda, wealth and power. But Musk wasn't deterred. Instead, he did what he did best. He turned adversity into an opportunity. He responded by launching a counterattack that no one saw coming. His team worked tirelessly to release footage, interviews, and first-hand accounts of what was truly happening behind the scenes. They brought on former employees, whistleblowers, and industry experts who spoke out about the systemic corruption and how it had been exposed. Musk knew that the best way to fight the syndicate's lies was with truth, and the truth had a powerful voice. As the battle raged on, Musk's response was nothing short of brilliant. He leveraged his social media presence, holding live Q&A sessions where he answered questions from the public. He spoke directly to his supporters, and even those who were initially skeptical of him, about what he was fighting for. It wasn't just about energy. It was about freedom. The freedom to innovate, the freedom to build a future that was sustainable, and the freedom to challenge the status quo. Then, Musk took his fight to a new level. He began to expose the true reach of the syndicate, how it had infiltrated political systems, influenced laws, and manipulated markets for decades. He revealed hidden connections between some of the world's most powerful politicians and corporate elites who had been working behind the scenes to stifle innovation and maintain their grip on power. He even used his platform to make one of the most dramatic statements of his career. In an unprecedented move, Musk publicly challenged the syndicate's leaders to a live, televised debate. He called them out by name, demanding they face him on equal terms. It was a bold move, one that few had the courage to make. The response from the syndicate was swift and predictable. They declined the debate, of course. But the fact that they refused to engage in public dialogue only confirmed what Musk had been saying all along. They were afraid of the truth. In the meantime, the legal battles were escalating. Lawsuits were still piling up, but Musk's legal team, led by the unflappable defense lawyer Rebecca Porter, had begun to counterattack with a force Musk had never anticipated. Porter had managed to uncover critical evidence showing that the syndicate had been manipulating the legal system itself, planting judges and influencing court decisions to ensure favorable outcomes for their interests. In a stunning turn of events, Porter was able to present this evidence in court, forcing a massive investigation into the syndicate's corrupt practices. The legal system, which had long been complicit in the syndicate's operations, was now in full disarray. The tide was beginning to turn, and Musk's confidence soared. But just as Musk began to believe that victory was within reach, the syndicate revealed its most devastating weapon yet. The syndicate had infiltrated Musk's personal life. A series of carefully timed leaks emerged, targeting Musk's closest allies. Personal information, fabricated rumors, and intimate details of his private life were released to the press in a calculated attempt to destroy his reputation once and for all. The goal was clear: to break Musk's spirit by turning the public against him on a personal level. Musk, devastated by the betrayal, felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. It wasn't just a battle for the future anymore. It was a battle for his very soul. The truth had been his greatest weapon, but now, it seemed as though even the truth could be twisted against him. But Musk's resolve remained unbroken. He knew the syndicate's attempt to break him would fail. He wasn't alone in this fight. His supporters had rallied around him, louder than ever before, refusing to let the syndicate's smear campaign take hold. In the end, the syndicate's move to destroy Musk's personal life only made him stronger. It galvanized his supporters, who rallied around him in droves. They saw through the lies and understood that Musk wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for all of them. The battle for the future of humanity was no longer just about corporate power. It was about the people, and Musk's message of hope and change had become their rallying cry. The syndicate had thrown everything they had at Musk, but they had underestimated the power of one man's vision, the strength of his resolve, and the unshakable will of the people who supported him. The giants were beginning to fall, and Musk was ready for the final confrontation. The endgame was near, and the world was watching. The weeks following the syndicate's last attack were tense. The world had witnessed Musk's resolve in the face of personal and professional adversity, but the pressure was mounting. Despite the viral campaigns of support, Musk could feel the weight of the battle bearing down on him. The legal charges, the media attacks, the covert operations, it was all beginning to converge in what could either be the moment of triumph or the point of no return. Tesla and SpaceX were not only fighting against the syndicate's business interests, but also the deep-rooted political influence that had made the syndicate nearly invincible. Even some of Musk's most loyal allies had begun to question the magnitude of his struggle. The financial strain was palpable, the syndicate's influence was pervasive, and though public opinion had largely shifted in Musk's favor, the old powers were still potent and formidable. Musk, however, had something the syndicate did not: a vision. And it was this vision, not just of electric cars and rockets to Mars, but of a new world order that fueled him to make one final move that would either tear down the old regime or see his empire collapse entirely. Late one night, as Musk was walking the floors of Tesla's headquarters, Anna called him with urgent news. "Musk, it's worse than we thought. We've uncovered a massive web of financial ties between the syndicate and major politicians across the globe. People who have the power to shut down everything we've worked for. It's not just about companies anymore. It's about the control of entire economies." Musk ran a hand through his hair, processing the information. This was bigger than even he had imagined. It was no longer a fight for the future of energy, it was a fight for the future of democracy itself. The syndicate wasn't just trying to take him down. They were trying to control the flow of resources, to keep the world dependent on fossil fuels and outdated technologies. But we can't just keep reacting to their moves. We need to take the initiative, Musk said, the fire returning to his voice. It's time to strike at the heart of the problem. Musk knew that the only way to truly challenge the syndicate's control was to dismantle their system of influence from the inside out. It was no longer enough to expose corruption. He needed to disrupt the financial and political networks that gave the syndicate its power. He proposed a radical idea to his inner circle, a digital currency backed by Tesla and SpaceX's resources, a decentralized, transparent cryptocurrency that would bypass traditional banking systems and be immune to the control of the political elites who had long manipulated markets for their own gain. This was Musk's final gambit, the launch of a new, global financial system that could replace the one the syndicate had spent centuries building. "This is more than just a financial tool," Musk explained to Anna and the team. "It's a revolution. We'll make energy and resources more accessible, more transparent, and more decentralized. It's the antidote to their corruption." The team was divided. While Anna and Hargrove supported the idea, others were wary. The plan was unprecedented and risky, and the stakes had never been higher. But Musk's vision was clear. If they succeeded, they would reshape the entire economic landscape, cutting the syndicate off from its sources of power once and for all. The team worked around the clock, assembling everything they needed to launch the cryptocurrency. With the help of SpaceX engineers and Tesla's cutting-edge technology, they built a robust blockchain platform that could support the new digital currency. It would be unlike anything the world had ever seen, and its first public announcement was scheduled for the day before the next round of court hearings against the syndicate. As the day of the announcement approached, the media buzz grew. Even those who had once been skeptics began to pay attention. Would Musk's plan succeed, or would it backfire spectacularly? With every passing hour, the pressure mounted. The syndicate, aware of the impending announcement, mobilized their allies in an attempt to shut it down before it could even begin. Musk's phone rang. It was Rebecca Porter, his legal counsel. "Musk, they're preparing to shut down your companies. We've just gotten word that the syndicate has bribed enough judges to issue an emergency injunction against the launch of the cryptocurrency. They'll do everything they can to stop it." Musk's eyes darkened. They can't stop this. It's bigger than them. The day of the launch arrived, and Musk stood at the podium before a global audience, his heart pounding. The cryptocurrency, which he had named Solar Coin, was designed to revolutionize the energy market and change the way the world thought about money. Musk explained that it would be backed by renewable energy projects around the globe, ensuring that every transaction would help fund green initiatives and promote sustainability. "The future of money," Musk said, "should not be in the hands of the corrupt few. It should belong to the people. This is about freedom, transparency, and a future we can all build together." As Musk spoke, the syndicate's last-ditch effort to halt the launch failed. Within minutes of the announcement, SolarCoin was live, and the first transactions were made. The market was electrified. Within hours, the cryptocurrency had gained millions of users, and its value began to soar. The syndicate responded with everything they had, but it was too late. Their grip on the world was slipping. The final battle had been fought, and Musk had won, not through force, but through innovation, through transparency, through the power of the people. The world watched as the syndicate's empire began to crumble. The politicians, corporations, and financial institutions that had propped up the old system now found themselves with no place to hide. The revolution had begun. Musk's victory was not just personal. It was a victory for the people, for innovation, for the future. The fight was over. But the world had changed forever. The days following the launch of Solar Coin were nothing short of revolutionary. The news spread like wildfire across every corner of the globe. From small villages in Africa to bustling cities in Asia, everyone seemed to be talking about the cryptocurrency that had the potential to reshape the world. But it wasn't just the technicality of the blockchain or the novelty of a new currency that had people excited. It was the idea behind it, the promise that this new system would end the dominance of the elite and offer a path toward a more transparent, sustainable future. Musk had succeeded in something no one had believed possible. He had taken on the giants of industry and finance and won. The syndicate, the very force that had controlled industries for centuries, was now crumbling under the weight of their own exposed corruption. Their grip on the world was no longer secure, and as Solar Coin gained traction, it became a symbol of resistance to the old power structures. Yet, even as Musk basked in the triumph of his victory, he knew this was only the beginning. The world had changed, but the fight for its future was far from over. The global economic systems were reeling from the introduction of Solar Coin. It wasn't just the syndicate that was worried. Central banks, multinational corporations, and even governments were caught off guard by the rapid adoption of this new form of currency. It was a shift in power that could not be ignored. In response, the world's most powerful institutions began to push back. They began implementing countermeasures, laws to restrict the use of cryptocurrencies, emergency regulations to protect traditional financial systems, and coordinated media campaigns designed to paint Solar Coin as a fleeting trend. They hoped that with time, the public would lose interest and the new economic paradigm would fade into obscurity. But they underestimated the strength of Musk's revolution. Solar Coin wasn't just a currency, it was a movement. It wasn't just about breaking free from old systems. It was about creating something new, something better, something that could not be controlled by a select few. Musk's response to the opposition was measured, but powerful. He took to his platform and made it clear that Solar Coin was not just a challenge to the financial elite. It was a challenge to every system of oppression that kept people bound by outdated structures. He spoke directly to the public, urging them to continue supporting this new vision for the future. "We are not just changing the way money works," Musk told his audience. "We're changing the way power works. The days of hidden backdoor deals, corruption, and manipulation are over. The people are taking control, and we're doing it together." The rallying cry of Musk's message spread even further than Solar Coin itself. What had started as a technological innovation was quickly becoming a full-blown social movement. From activists to entrepreneurs, from ordinary citizens to leaders of emerging economies, people around the world were embracing Musk's vision for a more equitable, transparent, and sustainable future. And with each passing day, the syndicate's attempts to crush this revolution became increasingly futile. However, the fight was not without its struggles. Musk, despite his newfound support, was still facing resistance. Governments were starting to impose stricter regulations on Solar Coin, threatening to seize the assets of anyone found using it in countries where the cryptocurrency was banned. Banks, terrified of losing control over the global financial system, began freezing accounts and shutting down businesses that embraced the new digital currency. Musk's team worked relentlessly to combat these obstacles. They fortified the technology behind Solar Coin, making it even more secure and harder for authorities to interfere. They used their resources to hire legal teams that would challenge the unfair regulations in court. And they launched education campaigns to ensure that the public understood the true purpose of Solar Coin, ensuring that the fight for a new, more equitable world wasn't just about economic freedom, but about empowerment for everyone, no matter their background. But despite all these efforts, the tension between the old world and the new continued to escalate. Then came the day of reckoning. It was the final confrontation, the last battle between the old powers and Musk's revolutionary vision for the future. The syndicate had pulled every string they could. They had hired lobbyists, leveraged political influence, and used every tactic in their arsenal to undermine Musk's progress. And now, they were going for broke. They were going to try to destroy Solar Coin once and for all. They had coordinated a massive global initiative to crush the new currency through coordinated attacks on Musk's companies, shutting down critical resources and manipulating the stock market. But Musk had anticipated this. He was ready. In a strategic move that caught everyone by surprise, Musk announced the launch of a new global initiative, the Musk Foundation for Decentralization, aimed at supporting open-source technologies and fostering a new generation of innovators who would fight for the principles of transparency, sustainability, and fairness. The foundation's first major action would be to provide legal and financial backing to those who were being persecuted for using SolarCoin, essentially turning the tide against the old powers who had once controlled the legal system. As the foundation's influence grew, so did the global movement behind Musk. Protesters in the streets, activists organizing online, and everyday people rallying together. The world was shifting. The old guard could no longer hold the reins. The final push came when Musk's legal team won a landmark case, challenging the anti-cryptocurrency laws in the courts of multiple nations. The decision was a blow to the syndicate, and their attempts to control the financial system were officially broken. For the first time in decades, the world saw a new dawn, a world where wealth and resources were no longer concentrated in the hands of the few. People were empowered to take control of their financial futures, and SolarCoin, backed by renewable energy and sustainability, became the new standard in global transactions. And in this new world, Musk stood at the helm, not as a leader of a company, but as the architect of a new world order, a world built on the principles of fairness, transparency, and progress. The victory was more than a win for Musk. It was a victory for everyone who had ever felt powerless, for every person who had ever been told that their dreams were too big or their ideas too radical. The launch of SolarCoin and the subsequent dismantling of the old financial systems marked the beginning of a new era, one in which the world was no longer controlled by a select few. For the first time in modern history, there was a real opportunity for everyone to participate in shaping the future. Musk watched as his vision came to life. People all over the world began to embrace SolarCoin, not just as a currency, but as a symbol of the change they had longed for. They began to understand that their individual actions, whether they were entrepreneurs, students, or just everyday citizens, could now have a direct impact on the world. The decentralized network Musk had created allowed for a more equitable distribution of resources, one where the control no longer lay in the hands of corrupt institutions, but with the people who needed it most. The world had truly transformed. But despite the widespread optimism, there were still those who feared change. Governments and corporations that had once held immense power were not ready to simply fade into obscurity. They still had resources, influence, and the backing of powerful industries. The challenge now was to ensure that the momentum of this new world order wasn't crushed before it had fully taken root. Musk knew that this fight would not be easy. Even though SolarCoin had garnered widespread support, the fight against the old powers had only just begun. The financial institutions were pulling every string they could, creating smear campaigns, leveraging old alliances, and even attempting to infiltrate the decentralized networks Musk had worked so hard to build. But this time, the battle was different. Musk had become a symbol of resistance, and his supporters were just as determined as he was to keep the dream alive. It wasn't just a battle against financial institutions anymore. It was a battle for the future of the planet itself. SolarCoin wasn't just about wealth distribution. It was about creating a sustainable future, one where renewable energy was at the center of everything. He met with leaders from emerging economies who were eager to embrace the new financial system. In places where corruption had long crippled the economy, SolarCoin was seen as a beacon of hope. For the first time, they had access to a financial system that wasn't controlled by the elites who had kept them impoverished for generations. Musk knew that to truly change the world, he needed to make sure SolarCoin was more than just a currency. It needed to become a way of life. So he turned to his most loyal ally, Anna, and proposed a bold new idea. A global initiative to fund sustainable energy projects all over the world, using SolarCoin as the primary currency for transactions. "We can't just change the way people handle money," Musk told her. "We need to change the way they live. SolarCoin can fund global projects, provide clean energy to those who need it most, and help us build the kind of world we've always dreamed of." The global initiative was launched with great fanfare. Musk's foundation began to back hundreds of renewable energy projects in developing countries, where electricity was scarce and the reliance on fossil fuels had led to devastating environmental consequences. SolarCoin became the primary method for transactions, and people from all walks of life started using it to fund their projects, from solar farms in Africa to electric vehicle infrastructure in South America. For the first time, energy was no longer something people had to fight for. It was accessible to everyone. However, the new financial system still had its detractors. Some of the world's largest oil companies, threatened by the rise of renewable energy, began to fund organized opposition. They sought to undermine Musk's work, using their vast resources to buy influence, spread misinformation, and sow doubt in the minds of those who were just beginning to trust the new system. It was during this time that Musk received a chilling call from one of his most trusted allies, a former CEO who had turned whistleblower in an effort to expose the old system's corruption. "Musk, they're coming after you," he warned. "They're pulling all the strings. They've even infiltrated your foundation. You've got to watch your back." Musk felt a sense of urgency rise within him. The war was far from over, and as the opposition closed in, he knew that they would stop at nothing to destroy everything he had built. But even in the face of these threats, Musk refused to back down. The future of the world was at stake, and he had come too far to give up now. The tension began to mount as Musk's companies and initiatives faced new legal challenges. The old powers, in a desperate attempt to stop the momentum, filed a series of lawsuits claiming that SolarCoin was destabilizing the global financial system and violating multiple international laws. The legal battles became a spectacle in the media, with the world divided on whether Musk's vision was truly a path to progress or an attempt to destabilize the established order. In the midst of the chaos, Musk doubled down on his message. He knew the legal battles were a necessary evil. If they were going to silence him, they had to silence the millions of people who had supported him. The courts would ultimately decide, but he was confident that justice would prevail. He reminded his supporters of the purpose behind SolarCoin, of the vision that had driven him from the very beginning. This was not just about financial revolution. It was about creating a better world for future generations. "I didn't build this to win a fight," Musk said in a public statement. "I built this to change the world. And no matter what they throw at us, we're not backing down." As the legal challenges continued, the movement only grew stronger. More and more people around the world began to see that this was their opportunity to be part of something much bigger than themselves, a revolution that could change the way the world worked. And so, with the world's eyes on him, Musk prepared for the most important battle of his life. The final showdown between the old powers and the new vision was imminent. Would SolarCoin become the global standard, or would the old guard find a way to crush the dream before it could truly take flight? The fate of the future rested in his hands. As Musk faced down the mounting legal battles, his resolve was unwavering. He had come too far to let the old powers take away everything he had worked for. The weight of the world seemed to rest on his shoulders, but he wasn't backing down. SolarCoin had become more than just a currency. It had become a symbol of hope for millions, an idea that was no longer confined to a niche group of tech enthusiasts, but a global movement striving to create a fairer, more transparent world. But now, the forces that had once controlled the world's economy were ready to strike back with everything they had. The opposition had ramped up their efforts, using their vast resources to launch a series of cyber attacks against the SolarCoin network. These attacks were sophisticated, designed to create instability and sow doubt about the security of the blockchain. They hoped that if they could make people believe SolarCoin wasn't safe, they could destabilize the currency and regain control. Musk's team, however, had anticipated this move. They had already put in place some of the most advanced cybersecurity measures the world had ever seen. The attacks were repelled quickly, but they were a stark reminder of just how high the stakes had become. Musk knew the attacks were only the beginning. The real battle would be fought in the courtroom. The syndicate had launched a multi-front legal war against him, filing lawsuits in every major jurisdiction. They accused him of everything from financial malpractice to endangering national security. It was clear that the old powers would stop at nothing to protect their hold on the world's resources. In the midst of these legal challenges, Musk's legal team was relentless. They knew that the key to surviving this war was not just defending SolarCoin, but also dismantling the arguments that the opposition was using to manipulate public perception. Every court hearing, every piece of evidence, and every legal argument became a battleground for the future of the global economy. The media coverage of the trials became more intense as the days wore on. Headlines screamed about the battle for the future of money, and pundits debated whether SolarCoin was a force for good or a threat to the global order. Musk, however, kept his focus on the bigger picture. He knew that winning these cases wasn't just about proving SolarCoin's legality. It was about showing the world that the old system was broken and that the people deserved a better way forward. The courtrooms were filled with tension as Musk took the stand. This was it, the moment that would decide the future of SolarCoin. The world was watching, and the outcome of these trials would either solidify his place in history as a hero of change or mark the end of the revolution he had started. Musk's lawyer, Sarah, stood beside him, presenting their case with precision and conviction. The evidence was clear. SolarCoin was a legally sound and legitimate currency, one that could be traced back to the principles of decentralization and transparency. It was a system that was built to give power back to the people, and the legal arguments against it were rooted in outdated laws that no longer applied in a digital, decentralized world. The opposing counsel, hired by the syndicate, tried to paint Musk as a villain, a reckless billionaire with a dangerous vision. They argued that SolarCoin would destabilize global economies and lead to widespread financial chaos. But Musk wasn't intimidated. He had anticipated their arguments and was ready to fight back. "I didn't create SolarCoin to destroy the world," Musk told the court, his voice calm but resolute. "I created it to rebuild it. The old financial systems were broken. They were rigged to favor the wealthy and powerful. SolarCoin is the future, and we're not going back." His words resonated with the jury and the public. They understood what Musk was fighting for. It wasn't just about the money. It was about justice. It was about creating a world where people had control over their own financial destinies, where corruption and manipulation were no longer the norm. The trial went on for weeks, but the tides were turning in Musk's favor. As more evidence was presented, the cracks in the opposition's case began to show. Musk's legal team exposed the network of corruption and collusion that had been manipulating the global financial system for decades. The public was outraged. What had once seemed like an impossible battle now appeared to be a fight that Musk could win. And then, in a stunning turn of events, Musk's team uncovered a major piece of evidence, documents revealing that key members of the syndicate had been directly involved in orchestrating the legal challenges against SolarCoin. This bombshell sent shockwaves through the courtroom. The syndicate's credibility was shattered. The tide had turned decisively in Musk's favor. With the weight of the evidence on his side, Musk's victory in court was inevitable. The judge ruled in his favor, declaring that SolarCoin was a legitimate currency and that the opposition's efforts to shut it down were unlawful. The old financial system's stranglehold had been broken. The global reaction was immediate. Markets surged as confidence in SolarCoin reached new heights. Countries that had once been hostile to the idea of decentralized currency began to reconsider their positions, and even governments that had initially tried to crush the movement started to seek partnerships with Musk's companies. SolarCoin had become the new standard, and the world was forever changed. Musk stood on the balcony of his headquarters, looking out at a world that was unrecognizable from the one he had fought to change. The winds of change had blown stronger than anyone had imagined. He had defeated the old powers, but the work was far from done. The battle for the future of humanity had just begun. And in that moment, Musk knew that the revolution wasn't about just winning. It was about ensuring that this new world could endure, thrive, and evolve into something even greater than anyone had ever imagined. The real journey was only beginning. In the aftermath of the courtroom victory, the world was buzzing with excitement. Musk's legal win had cemented SolarCoin as a legitimate global currency, but that was just the first step. The revolution that had begun in the courtroom now needed to spread across every corner of the world. Political systems, economies, and societies had to adapt to the new order, and that was no easy task. Musk stood in the heart of his global headquarters, surrounded by his trusted team of engineers, economists, and strategists. He had achieved the unthinkable, but now he faced an even greater challenge. How to ensure the world embraced this new financial system, and how to make sure that SolarCoin wasn't just a fad, but a foundation for long-term prosperity for all. SolarCoin isn't just about a currency, Musk said, looking over his team. It's about rethinking everything. Our energy systems, our financial systems, our very way of living. This is about a global shift towards sustainability, transparency, and decentralization. Anna, who had been Musk's ally from the very beginning, nodded in agreement. She had seen firsthand how transformative SolarCoin could be. She had watched it grow from an idea to a movement, and now she was seeing the impact it was having on communities around the world. "We need to focus on education and outreach," Anna said. "People have to understand that SolarCoin is more than just an alternative currency. It's a new way of interacting with the world. It's about trust, energy independence, and breaking free from the monopolies that have held us down for too long." Musk smiled at Anna, appreciating her clarity. It was clear they shared the same vision. The revolution was only starting, but it was gaining momentum faster than they had ever expected. Over the following months, Musk's teams launched a series of initiatives aimed at spreading SolarCoin to every part of the globe. They worked with governments, NGOs, and business leaders to establish partnerships. They even set up educational programs to teach people how to use SolarCoin effectively, especially in areas where access to traditional banking had been limited. But the work wasn't without resistance. Despite SolarCoin's growing popularity, there were still those who viewed it as a threat. The financial elites, who had been dealt a blow in the courtroom, were not going to let this new way of life slip into the mainstream without a fight. Musk faced mounting pressure as he and his team navigated not only business challenges but also political opposition. Powerful politicians who had long relied on the old financial systems were now starting to push back, seeing Musk as a threat to their established power. They lobbied hard to try and convince the public that SolarCoin was a dangerous experiment, one that could lead to economic instability. Even as he faced these new obstacles, Musk remained focused. He wasn't deterred by the criticisms or the smear campaigns that had started to emerge. He knew that the change he was leading was inevitable. History had shown time and time again that the world would eventually evolve. The only question was whether humanity would be ready to embrace that evolution. The turning point came when a number of countries, initially skeptical, started adopting SolarCoin as a supplementary currency. These nations, mostly in the developing world, saw the potential benefits. SolarCoin could provide their people with access to a financial system that was secure, transparent, and independent of foreign banking systems that had long kept them in debt. In Africa, renewable energy projects began to spring up, funded directly by SolarCoin. Villages without reliable access to power suddenly had solar panels, and people were no longer dependent on erratic power grids. The results were immediate: improved education, better health outcomes, and a renewed sense of hope for the future. But even more significant was the change in mindset. People no longer saw themselves as passive consumers, dependent on outside forces for their livelihoods. They became active participants in building their communities and their futures. SolarCoin was not just a currency, it was a tool for empowerment. Musk received regular updates from these projects, and the stories he heard filled him with a sense of purpose that only fueled his drive. He had seen the future, and it was bright, it was clean, and it was built on collaboration. As SolarCoin gained more traction, Musk's team turned their attention to the next frontier: the integration of SolarCoin into the global energy market. The idea was simple but powerful. SolarCoin could be used as a reward for individuals and companies that contributed to renewable energy production. People who generated solar power could be compensated with SolarCoin, creating a self-sustaining economy that was powered entirely by clean, renewable energy. In countries where solar energy was already growing, this concept gained quick traction. In places like India, where energy demand was rising rapidly and solar power had already made strides, the SolarCoin system was an easy sell. It allowed communities to take ownership of their energy production, providing both financial rewards and the satisfaction of contributing to the environment. But there were still some who believed that solar energy was not enough to meet global demand. Skeptics warned that SolarCoin's rise would not be enough to offset the long-term dependence on fossil fuels. These voices were loud and persistent, but Musk, as always, was unfazed. "I believe in the power of humanity to innovate," Musk said during a global conference on renewable energy. "We are not just building a new currency or a new energy grid, we are building a new future." Musk's words resonated deeply with his audience. He was not just a businessman. He was a visionary who understood that the world's future wasn't written in the old systems of power and profit. It was written in the innovations of today and the bold ideas of tomorrow. And as the world watched, SolarCoin continued to grow. The vision Musk had first set out to build was becoming a reality, and there was no turning back. The old guard of financial elites was fading, replaced by a new order, a more open, decentralized, and sustainable world that was beginning to take shape. But Musk knew that this was just the beginning. The road ahead would be long, with many challenges and obstacles still to come. But he was ready to fight for the future of humanity. Musk looked to the horizon, knowing that the true battle for the future had only just begun. The world was on the brink of a new dawn. Would humanity rise to meet it? The answer, he believed, was already clear. As SolarCoin continued to grow in power and influence, the world began to change in ways Musk had never imagined. Entire industries, economies, and political systems that had once been pillars of the old order now found themselves under siege. The very foundation of global finance was being questioned, and those who had long benefited from the status quo were starting to panic. Musk's triumphs had sparked something far larger than he had intended. The momentum of SolarCoin wasn't just about a new currency, it was a call to action. People across the world, from struggling communities to powerful financial elites, were suddenly asking, what if the world could be different? What if we didn't have to play by the same rules anymore? But with this sudden surge in revolutionary thinking came unexpected consequences. As the old financial systems began to falter, new tensions emerged. Governments, once hesitant, now began to push back harder. Some countries, seeing the power shift away from their control, imposed restrictions on SolarCoin and decentralized currencies in general. The global financial community mobilized, fighting tooth and nail to prevent a complete collapse of their monopolistic systems. Despite the resistance, Musk remained steadfast. He had expected this moment. The question now was how to navigate the rising opposition while keeping the movement alive. The stakes had never been higher. The first major confrontation came when a coalition of major financial institutions, led by powerful global banks, filed a new round of lawsuits against Musk's companies, claiming that SolarCoin posed an existential threat to national security and global economic stability. They accused Musk of undermining the global financial system and of using his wealth and influence to manipulate entire economies. Musk's legal team, battle-tested and ready, prepared for another lengthy fight. They had already proven their ability to stand up to the giants of the financial world, but this time felt different. The world was watching, and every move they made would be scrutinized. As the court battles raged, Musk's personal life also began to feel the strain. His family, which had always been his rock, found themselves caught up in the whirlwind of media attention and public scrutiny. The relentless spotlight was taking its toll, and Musk knew that it wasn't just his future on the line. It was his family's as well. In the midst of these battles, Musk took time to reflect. He thought about his journey, from the dream of creating a sustainable future to the creation of SolarCoin and its meteoric rise. He had always known that true change would come with challenges, but now, the full weight of that truth was becoming apparent. The opponents of SolarCoin weren't just fighting for control of money, they were fighting for control of power itself. The centralized power structures that had once held the world in their grip were unraveling. The fight was no longer just about a currency. It was a fight for the soul of global society. And Musk was right at the center of it. One of the pivotal moments came when Musk made a public statement during a press conference, addressing the growing tension between the SolarCoin movement and the old financial systems. "The future belongs to the people," Musk said, his voice unwavering. "We've built a world that no longer serves the needs of the majority. It's time for a new system, one that is sustainable, transparent, and built on trust. SolarCoin is just the beginning. What we're building is a future for everyone." Those words sent shockwaves across the globe. For some, they were a beacon of hope, a call to arms to fight for a better world. But for others, particularly those in power, they were a warning, a threat to everything they had built. The financial world's elite responded with fury. Media outlets that had once praised Musk's innovations now turned against him, launching scathing articles and reports that painted him as a dangerous, unpredictable force. Governments began imposing harsher regulations on cryptocurrency and decentralized technologies, and sanctions were placed on Musk's companies. But Musk had prepared for this. He had known that the more power SolarCoin gained, the more desperate the opposition would become. They had underestimated the strength of the movement, and now it was clear that they were losing ground. In the midst of this global reckoning, Musk found an unexpected ally, an anonymous group of hackers who had long been supporters of decentralized technology. They reached out to Musk's team, offering to expose the corruption within the financial institutions that had been trying to crush SolarCoin. This was a dangerous game, but Musk saw it as a necessary step. With their help, a series of high-profile leaks emerged, revealing how global banks and governments had colluded to suppress technological innovation and maintain their monopoly on global wealth. The leaks sent shockwaves through the media, sparking outrage from the public and galvanizing support for the SolarCoin movement. For the first time, it seemed that the tide was truly turning in Musk's favor. The financial giants were on the defensive, and public sentiment was shifting dramatically in favor of SolarCoin and its promise of a decentralized, equitable future. But as Musk's victory seemed inevitable, a new challenge arose. The opposition, desperate and cornered, unleashed a final wave of attacks. This time, it wasn't just financial or legal. It was personal. Musk and his family found themselves in the crosshairs of an organized campaign of intimidation, with threats made against their safety. Musk knew this was a dangerous game, but he had come too far to turn back. His resolve was stronger than ever. The world was watching, and there was no turning back now. The global reckoning was far from over. But Musk, having already faced insurmountable odds, was prepared for whatever would come next. The fight for the future was just beginning, and he was ready to lead the charge. The future was not something to fear. It was something to be built, and Musk was determined to be the one to build it. The tension in the air was palpable. As Musk and his team had pushed forward with SolarCoin's global expansion, they had built a movement that was impossible to ignore. Yet, as expected, the opposition wasn't just going to fade into the background. The elites, politicians, and financial moguls who once held the reins of power were coming together for one last stand. An all-out effort to stop Musk and SolarCoin from forever altering the course of history. Musk had long anticipated this. He knew that the battle would not be won easily, but he also knew that every revolution faced its moment of truth, the point when the forces of change collide head-on with the forces of preservation. This was it. The final confrontation was brewing, not just in courtrooms, but in the halls of power, in the streets of cities across the world, and on every digital platform where the story of SolarCoin was being told. In the weeks leading up to the showdown, Musk made a bold move. He announced a global conference, bringing together world leaders, energy pioneers, activists, and innovators. The goal wasn't just to defend SolarCoin. It was to give the world a glimpse into what the future could look like if they embraced change rather than fought it. The conference was set to take place in the heart of New York City, in a location that had once been synonymous with financial power. Wall Street itself would be the stage for the final act. Musk knew this was no ordinary conference. It wasn't just about talking or negotiating. It was about sending a message that the old guard could no longer control the future, that humanity was no longer bound by the chains of outdated systems. As the day of the conference arrived, the world's media gathered in anticipation. News outlets across the globe were buzzing with speculation. Would this be the day Musk's revolution hit a brick wall? Or would it be the day that history was rewritten? Musk stepped onto the stage, his face calm but resolute. The conference hall was filled to capacity, with cameras flashing and reporters clamoring for attention. Behind him, a massive screen displayed the bold words, "A future powered by SolarCoin." The atmosphere was electric. This was not just a conference. It was a battle for the future. The opposition had come in full force as well. Powerful bankers, influential politicians, and CEOs from global corporations filled the seats in the front row. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Musk opened the conference with a simple statement. The world is at a crossroads. We stand on the brink of a new era, one where energy is free, financial systems are transparent, and people have control over their futures. We can't go back. The future is here. His words were met with mixed reactions, some applause, but also loud murmurs of dissent. The tension in the room was palpable. The opposing forces were already preparing to counter Musk's vision. One by one, influential figures from the establishment took to the stage, presenting their arguments against the rise of SolarCoin and decentralized finance. One speaker, a well-known economist from a leading global bank, took the floor. "What Musk proposes is reckless," he said, his voice dripping with authority. "It may sound promising, but a world built on decentralized currencies will lead to chaos. No nation can function without a central authority. Without regulation, there is only uncertainty." The crowd responded with a ripple of skepticism, but Musk remained unfazed. He knew that his movement wasn't just about money. It was about breaking the chains of control that had been placed on the people for centuries. The old order was built on fear and scarcity. SolarCoin, on the other hand, was built on abundance and freedom. Musk took the stage again after the speaker, and this time, he didn't hold back. He addressed the room directly, his voice steady and filled with conviction. "You say it's reckless to trust people with their own futures. But I say it's reckless to continue to put our faith in systems that have been broken for generations. The system you defend has created inequality, environmental destruction, and constant wars over resources. It is a system that has served the few at the expense of the many." He paused, allowing his words to sink in. The future doesn't belong to the few. It belongs to everyone. And that is why SolarCoin isn't just a new currency. It is a revolution in how we think about money, power, and the planet itself. It's about giving people the tools they need to build a better world. The room fell silent. Musk's words had struck a chord. The message was clear. The old world order was crumbling, and with it, the systems that had supported it. The audience could feel the weight of the moment. This wasn't just about technology. This was about the very future of humanity. As the conference continued, Musk and his team presented evidence of SolarCoin's impact. The growing network of solar-powered communities, the new decentralized energy systems that were beginning to flourish, and the businesses that had thrived by adopting SolarCoin as their currency. But then, just as Musk seemed poised to win the crowd, something unexpected happened. The establishment had one final card to play. A shocking exposé was released, revealing a web of leaks suggesting that Musk's companies had been involved in shady dealings, unsubstantiated rumors of tax evasion, and unethical business practices. The media seized on the story, and the headlines turned against him in an instant. It was a low blow, a final attempt to discredit him and his movement. But Musk had been through the fires of public scrutiny before. He wasn't about to let this stop him. As the media frenzy erupted around him, Musk took a deep breath and calmly addressed the room. "These accusations are designed to distract you," he said. "But the real question is, can we afford to let the truth of this moment slip away because of baseless attacks? I am here to tell you that we can and must do better. The future is too important to be derailed by lies." The room fell silent again, and for a moment, Musk could feel the tide turning. People weren't buying the smear campaign. They had seen the potential of SolarCoin, and they knew that the old powers were desperate to hold on to their control. The fight for SolarCoin's future was far from over. But Musk had reached a turning point. With unwavering confidence, he knew that the battle for the new world would continue. But the revolution had already begun, and there was no stopping it now. The future was unfolding right before their eyes. Would it be a world of freedom and abundance, or would the forces of the past win? The answer was just beginning to take shape. The aftermath of the conference was nothing short of chaotic. Headlines flooded the media, and analysts spent days dissecting Musk's every word, every gesture. Some hailed him as a visionary, a revolutionary who had exposed the deep flaws of the existing global system. Others labeled him a dangerous disruptor who had the potential to tear society apart. The lines had been drawn. But one thing was clear. The world was no longer the same. Musk had shifted the conversation. People were no longer passively accepting the status quo. They were questioning it. The very foundations of global finance, energy, and power were under scrutiny, and no one knew how the future would unfold. Musk's next move was critical. He had to decide whether to continue the fight in the courts, where legal battles with the financial elites raged on, or to take a different approach entirely. The opposition was relentless, and their tactics were growing more desperate. But Musk had always believed in the power of innovation, and now, more than ever, he knew that the key to changing the world lay in finding new solutions. Despite the mounting pressure, Musk didn't back down. In the following months, his team worked tirelessly to build on the momentum generated at the conference. They expanded the solar coin network, establishing new partnerships with solar energy companies and accelerating the rollout of decentralized energy systems that could operate independently of traditional power grids. The world was beginning to see the power of decentralization, and people were slowly embracing the idea that they no longer had to rely on centralized power structures for their survival. However, the attacks against Musk and SolarCoin didn't stop. One evening, as Musk sat in his office reviewing plans for the next phase of the SolarCoin expansion, a team member burst in with urgent news. A coalition of global powers had come together and was preparing to launch a full-scale regulatory attack on SolarCoin and other decentralized technologies. Governments were starting to draft legislation to outlaw the use of decentralized currencies, arguing that they posed a risk to national security and economic stability. The media, once again, turned its gaze on Musk, calling him the enemy of the state. It was a pivotal moment for Musk. This wasn't just about a new currency anymore. It was about the future of individual freedom, the right to build without interference, and the ability to live in a world where people controlled their own destinies. Musk knew that if SolarCoin was to survive, it had to evolve beyond its initial purpose. It needed to be more than just an alternative currency. It needed to be a movement, a global coalition of people who were committed to a new, sustainable way of life. Musk's team began a new campaign, not just for SolarCoin, but for the vision of a decentralized, equitable world. They launched a global initiative called The Future Is Now, inviting citizens from around the world to join the movement. It wasn't just about buying into SolarCoin. It was about adopting a new mindset, a mindset that embraced the potential for change, for innovation, and for global collaboration. The movement quickly gained traction. People from all walks of life began sharing their stories, highlighting the struggles they had faced under the old systems. SolarCoin was no longer just a digital asset. It had become a symbol of the fight for a better future. In the midst of this growing support, Musk made a public statement that would go down in history. The world is changing and we have a choice. We can either fight for the past or build a new future. The old systems are failing. The time for change is now. The statement resonated with millions. It wasn't just a call to action. It was a declaration of hope. Musk's words inspired a global movement, a movement that transcended borders, ideologies, and political affiliations. It was about the people, not the powerful elites. As the movement grew, so did the opposition. The establishment fought back harder than ever. But this time, something was different. The people were no longer passive observers. They were active participants in the fight for their futures. In the weeks that followed, mass protests erupted in major cities around the world, with people demanding a new financial system, new energy solutions, and new ways of living. Governments were forced to take notice. Pressure mounted, and slowly but surely, they began to shift their stance. Musk, ever the strategist, knew that the key to victory was not in confrontation, but in collaboration. He reached out to leaders in renewable energy, technology, and global governance, proposing a new international framework for decentralized energy and finance. It was a bold move, one that would require global cooperation, but Musk knew that it was the only way forward. To his surprise, many leaders responded positively. They saw the writing on the wall. The old ways were dying, and a new world was being born. Together, they began drafting an agreement that would set the stage for a new global order, one that prioritized sustainability, transparency, and fairness. As the agreement was signed, the world witnessed a historic moment. The old powers had finally acknowledged that they could not stop the tide of change. The new world was being built, and SolarCoin had played a pivotal role in that transformation. Musk stood before the world, not as a man who had won a battle, but as a leader who had guided humanity toward a brighter future. His vision had inspired millions, and his unwavering determination had sparked a revolution that would change the world forever. The fight wasn't over, but the foundations for a new world had been laid. A world powered by renewable energy, decentralized finance, and a shared commitment to sustainability. It was only the beginning. What does the future hold for us? Can we truly build a world where everyone has access to opportunity and prosperity? The journey doesn't end here. Stay with us as we continue to explore the future Musk has inspired, one that's full of promise, hope, and endless possibilities. And with that, The dawn of a new era had arrived. The revolution had begun, and the world would never be the same again. The future was now, and it was brighter than ever.